Hey, George. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about some CDC data. I took a look at total deaths from all causes for 2020. That's finally out, and there's no lag left anymore in it. And so when I took a look at the numbers and I went to the National Academy of Sciences website for some comparisons and for some data, if we review the total deaths from past years, you could see that 2020 was an average year. In fact, it was better than the increase in total deaths we had from 2014-15 season or the 2016-17 season, where they had a lot of deaths that were attributed to the flu, 61,000 in that year when there's a normal 32,000. That's the average. But what's interesting is that every year since 2014, and that's as far back as I went, every year there's been an increase. The average increase is 1.75%. 2020 had an increase of 2%. But if you look back to 2015, they had a 3.8% increase. Now, one of the reasons that's attributed to this increase year over year is that you have, baby boomers. And so you had this large segment of the population is now coming to the end of their lifetime. What the National Academy of Sciences also brought out was that during the COVID season, there was 4.41 million years of life that were lost. And the way that works is they take the average lifespan of a human being and then they take the average age of the person that passed away due to COVID or COVID complications, and they, tally up the entire amount of years of life that were lost. So if you look at that 4.4 million years of life, if you look at a bad flu year like 2017, they state that it was 13.2 million years of life from excess death. A little hard to wrap your head around. I'm making some speculation that, perhaps with everybody staying home, maybe there was far fewer accidents and so forth, and that's what attributed to the, only the older folks, because that's who we lost were the older folks, and whereas 2017 it was spread out much more. So when you look at all of this data, what I'm what I'm seeing here is I'm not seeing enough evidence that we actually had a pandemic to the level that was really broadcast. And then when we consider some of the evidence that we had from CNN with one of their directors talking about how they used it to bolster their ratings, so we look at that component of it. To me, it just really it just feels as if uh, it's been overdone, overplayed, and the sad
Well,
part
look,
about it is, go
it's
ahead.
been overplayed, right?
Yeah,
I mean, when you look at the way this whole thing goes, and I will tell people this, in the end, when something happens, whether doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter if it's a left issue or right issue, although the left really are the only ones who engage in this kind of craziness. When they all get behind a message and you're not allowed to question that message, immediately you should be questioning the shit out of that message.
yeah,
The truth doesn't require silencing. So if someone is on the side of truth, you don't have to silence. There's no reason to silence people who are saying something different because you have the truth on your side. No one is dumb enough. Well, correction. You shouldn't be dumb enough to allow someone to tell you that they're not going to let somebody give an opinion on a topic because they feel that it's damaging. the truth isn't damaged by falsity. Okay, it's not, because you've got the truth.
Right.
You can debunk the falsity. You don't
Right.
need to silence it. When you see big tech unified going after somebody who's saying something, as they did in this case with those two doctors that came out, and they were both making clear statements. They weren't ridiculous doctors. No one even tried to accuse them of it. They just banned them from every source of internet media in the world. They exist on Rumble, I believe, right now, their video. But they came
Okay.
out and they were telling people straight out, look, we're being told to mark deaths as COVID. Why am I being pressured to mark deaths as COVID? Like, if a medical professional comes out who's currently working in a hospital dealing with COVID, saying that this is true, and you have no reason to debunk him, and he gets silenced, your antennas need to go up. You
Right.
cannot keep walking around in the zombie stupor of information that you're living in. At some point, your antennas need to go up. Those first, I always screw this up, Jack. What's the name of that group of doctors?
Frontline doctors.
Frontline doctors. So they come out, they made the terrible mistake of bringing this Nigerian lady who ended up going, becoming the
Correct.
star of the show. And then the media immediately pounced on this woman and tried to discredit everybody in this project because this woman was making silly claims. And she was making, so she was calling hydroxychloroquine a cure. It's not a cure. It's one thing if a layman makes that mistake. It's another thing if a medical professional makes that mistake. That's a big difference between the two. But she was saying there's a cure. Now, I don't know if it was an English gap or something like that, but clearly it's not a cure. It's a preventative measure that has a high rate of success, and there's a difference between that and a cure. But no one else on the entire team. They did a 3-hour presentation. It wasn't just that podium drop that they did in front of I don't know where they were, in front of the Capitol or something, but it wasn't just that little thing they did. They did a huge presentation explaining exactly how COVID works, why hydroxychloroquine is able to be effective, what the numbers in countries that are using hydroxychloroquine showed, the fact that India had stopped a major outbreak simply by using it. Like, all of this data was real. They were not making this data up, and yet these people were not only were they taken off YouTube, immediately silenced on Twitter, Facebook. Any mention of their video that would be shared by anyone would be banned.
Lawsuits.
And for them, the next day they shut down their website.
Right.
And then you got to listen to these people tell you that it's friggin', their DNS server. It's like, stop it. Just happen to go down the day after they get banned on every form of internet humanly possible.
Right.
It's like, come on. Like, immediately, people have to start gaining on to this. If you're the dumbass that's living your life thinking, thank you, Google, for protecting me from that information. If you're that stupid, there is no saving you. There is no saving you. You're done at that point. You're done.